I'm going to begin this video with a reading by Maria Rilke, and it's called Water Lily, and it's in honour of all the beautiful water lilies that are scattered across this wonderful lake. It's just mesmerising, utterly enchanting. Water Lily. My whole life is mine, but whoever says no will deprive me, for it is infinite. The ripple of water, the shade of the sky are mine. It is still the same, my life. My desire opens me. I am full. I never close myself with refusal. In the rhythm of my daily soul, I do not desire. I am moved. By being moved, I exert my empire, making the dreams of night real. Into my body, at the bottom of the water, I attract the beyonds of mirrors. How beautiful is that? I personally think that poem explores the kind of concepts of self-sufficiency and infinity. I mean, if you think about mirrors that just keep on and on reflecting, it sort of reminds me of that. And also, it's the sort of ownership of their life. It's the ownership of their entire life. They do not need or want for anything other than just being attached to the bottom of that lake and being with the head in the sun, floating on top of the water and flowering throughout the summer, just endlessly flowering for everybody to enjoy. I don't know if you've ever seen a whole lake or a whole pond bursting with water lily flowers, or even, for that matter, lotus flowers. I've been fortunate enough to go to places like Srinagar, and there's a gorgeous lake in Srinagar, and it's sort of skirted by the Himalayas, and it's very, very glassy, and obviously the air there is very pure, and it just reflects the sky and the mountains, and in the entire lake it's just completely chock-a-block with lotus flowers. And you go out on these boats, these long narrow boats with a rower, and they take you out onto the lake and they collect these lotus flowers and sell them in the local markets, and they are obviously a symbol of eternity, and the unfolding of the petals are very symbolic of Hinduism, Buddhism, because of that the amount of petals, and because they are just a divine flower, if you like. They're sort of holier than thou flower. And I think that water lilies are very similar. I mean, they come up from the depths of nowhere. They come up from all that mud and muck at the bottom of the pond or the lake, and they rise up. They sort of push themselves up through the water. I mean, how do they even know how to do that? I suppose they're pushing themselves up to the light, to get out into the light so they can photosynthesize and they can flower. Once they're up there, they just very casually just float along, sort of sitting all the leaves there for frogs to hop along and dragonflies to go on and pond hoppers to hop along and all sorts of newts and goodness knows what. And all the pond life will be finding shelter under those leaves. So they provide an incredible canopy, an incredible biodiversity of life. And yet they speak of their own life. It's like in that poem, the water lily is owning their life. They kind of acknowledge that there's an infinite sort of stratosphere beyond their world, and they are almost infinite within it as well. That kind of reflective mirror that attracts. It says, "I attract the beyonds of the mirrors." I mean, that's just an incredible line, and it just means that it's basically about eternity and infinity. And they're also incredibly self-sufficient and self-reliant. I mean, water lilies will just, as I said, have the strength of character, if you like, to push up and push through all that muck and get their heads up into the sun, face the sun, and they're there to flower and just look absolutely beautiful for us to admire. I suppose the imagery of water and sky suggests a kind of limitless possibility in a way. It draws us into sort of, it's very elemental, isn't it? They are the elements, sky and water, air and water. And I think that it gives us, the water lily sort of grounds us into the depth of the earth. I mean, the earth is obviously what is underneath the lake. So it's a kind of very symbolic plant, really. And I think it's incredibly beautiful. And when I sit and I look at places like this, and it's just a wonderful sight, and it's nature at her finest, really. And I think that we have to admire her variety, and the way that the water lily does provide that shelter and that life for all of those other little animals, little bits of pond life and tadpoles and all sorts of things, and frogs born, and the whole cycle of life really around and in the ponds. And the fish will be hiding under there, sheltering if there's a storm. I would imagine they probably kind of dive under there for cover. It looks like it could be a very safe place to be. And also if they're being hunted by goodness knows what. I know that in England we get a lot of pike in these lakes, and I did spot somebody fishing on the side of the lake, so we would probably have lots of indigenous fish in there, maybe trout, pike. Pike has obviously got very sharp teeth and would probably bite your toes off if you put your toes in there. I've been swimming in lakes like that, and there have been huge carp, and I've thought, goodness me, what on earth's that? And then this giant carp just sort of puts its mouth above the water, and I quickly got out, I have to say. I mean, absolutely massive. Sometimes these sort of ancient lakes or ponds have they come and they've been there for hundreds and hundreds of years. So sometimes you can find completely new bits of biodiversity in there, which is pretty amazing. But I think that we can take away a bit of philosophy from this poem. I'm going to read it again. My whole life is mine, but whoever says so will deprive me, for it is infinite. The ripple of water, the shade of the sky are mine. It is still the same, my life. No desire opens me, I am full. I never close myself with refusal. In the rhythm of my daily soul, I do not desire. I am moved. By being moved, I exert my empire, making the dreams of night real. Into my body at the bottom of the water, I attract the beyonds of the mirrors. That's Water Lily by Renée Maria Rilke, and it's translated by A. Poulin. Well, I hope you have a dreamy day today and really enjoy yourself.